Hey, what's up guys and welcome to my new series, How to Top Gap. This series is still related to Riven, but this can apply to many top lane champions. Unfortunately, if you are a tank player and you love to flip a coin while your team decides the outcome for you, this series might not be for you. I'm sorry, I hope you got a bramble vest so I didn't hurt your feelings. Anyway, this first episode is going to be talking about impact points. We all like to complain about boring matchups. Some people even say that we cannot impact the game as a top laner before 25 minutes, when the outcome usually already is decided. But yo, that's kinda wrong. We have many different ways of impacting the game in the early game, especially with champions like Riven. And it works even better in higher elo, when your impact gets abused even more by your teammates. So now, let's get started because I know that you're probably already telling me to shut the fuck up and to tell you what an impact point is. I already spoke about 3 and 4 wave crash in a previous video, and I won't go in depth for this one, but basically a 3 wave crash is doing a slow push from level 1 by abusing your early advantage, and to crash stacked up waves at the 3rd or 4th wave depending on how you want to play it. A 3 wave crash usually happens around 250, and a 4 wave crash should happen around 315. When you have the power to control the early waves and to decide whether you want to crash or not, you can easily impact the game at minute 3. Before going into this topic, we need to talk about game analysis. When you get into champ select, you want to already start thinking about what's going to happen, so you can pick your runes and summoners accordingly. Look at buff team comps. For the top lane, do you have a matchup in which you can get prio level 1 in order to control the wave? Do you need Ignite for it, or do you get prio even if you have TP? The junglers, where will they be padding? Their jungler plus top duo should win 2v2 against you and your jungler, when their bot lane isn't great in the early game. So their jungler might be starting bot side in this case. You have to look at buff team comps and to put yourself in the mind of the other players. What padding would be the more beneficial for them, and which team wins the 3v3 bot side, and which wins the 2v2 top side. Now, impact point. It basically is all the moments in the early game in which you have a window to do something relevant to the entire game that will impact your team positively. Usually, the very first one happens once you do a 3 wave crash. As Riven, you often have the opportunity to crash a big wave with a cannon at 250, get into the enemy jungle and go mess with their jungler there. In some scenarios, you can kill them or force their flash. In some others, you can just mess with them and delay their buff by a long time, forcing the reset. Plus, if your lane opponent decides to come and help, they will lose CS under tower and a lot of time. All you need to do is to keep on pressuring without even committing to the fight. Your simple presence will be enough for them to panic and waste time. There are times where you can even force the enemy jungler to recall and offer a free buff to your jungler if they decide to seize that opportunity. With champions like Riven, with a strong level 1, there are scenarios where you can late invade by yourself and mess with the jungler as they are doing the first buff, as long as you play Ignite. But it requires multiple factors. Their top laner needs to be a weak champion level 1, for example, Nasus or Malphite. And it needs to be the same for the jungler. For example, a Nasus leashing for a Lilia or an Evelynn would be the perfect combo. They have no damage or CC and you are free to mess with them. In some scenarios, that leads to a first blood, and in some it will result to their jungler having to reset and to waste flash or even their smite, giving so much priority to your own jungler. Another impact point is when you do a slow push, crash an enormous wave under your opponent's tower, and usually it's when you want to look for an opening on the map. It could be another invade if the enemy jungler is topside, and if you're confident that you can win the 1v1. As it could also be a potential gank for the mid lane, especially if you got your flash up. A flank on the enemy mid laner pushing or a flank tower dive when your mid laner is pushing can easily turn into a free kill and a lead given to your mid laner, who will be able to translate their lead into bot or homes or Drake fights. Even if you just force cooldowns on their mid laner, like an ultimate or a flash, it remains a big advantage. Boom, you impacted the game again. Another early point is when you do a 4-wave crash into baiting the enemy jungler to the top lane. A jungler will gank top around between 250 and 310, unless they do the scuttle first. If they do gank during that timing, as you do a 4-wave crash, they won't be able to win that fight in such a big minion wave, especially since you should be up 1 level on your lane opponent. If they commit to a gank, they may either die or lose too much HP. Boom, you just impacted the game. You want to do those things even in matchups that you can stomp 1v1. You want to be proactive and to be doing plays that actually impact your team positively and not just your lane. If you miss all those impact points in matchups where you can't interact at all, like Ornn or Volibear, or whatever boring shit you got, then you will just get carried or lose slowly. These are boring champions, but they offer you prior early game as you get the wave control level 1, especially with Ignite. So that's when you need to abuse it and to make use of your impact points before you waste them and just rely on coin flip. The next episode will be about in-depth 3 and 4 wave crash and slow pushing. I hope this video was helpful and peace out boys.